especially the people at the top, they had to think like so much about like what moves they were going to make like 6 months ahead of time or like 2 years ahead of time, and like and how they were going to like communicate with people and stuff like that. And it seems that like before the advent of instantaneous communication, it's all in like your all in how you could leverage your social network, and that was like probably something that was very difficult to learn. And but then the internet kind of democratizes like information distribution and makes it available to everyone. So being privy to that information and knowledge is no longer the no longer the difficulty. And so but now it's like just like a overabundance of data, and so it's a lot of things in here that are like kind of good points, but they're not like great points. So I'm trying to kind of skim over this. But if you're not watching your message, then you can like on social networking, then you can be revealing a lot about a lot of information about your business strategy, and you can be projecting the wrong message. You really have to like hit the right notes for each segment and for each market. Um, and so it's interesting. My like webcam like light went off and on a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago. It's like, wait a second, that's not supposed to happen. Um, anyway, so one thing that I enjoy is watching interviews of founders and other great leaders. I like just kind of like watching them, like not even like I like listening to them, of course, and listening to their message, but I like just watching like how they interact with different people, and how they like interact. Like if it's like somebody who's like way up there, I like watching how they interact with someone who like I don't want to say that they perceive as lower than them, but I want to say that like I like someone that is perceived as being lower than them. Like how do they interact with them? And I feel like there's a lot you can learn from that. Just like in like looking at their body language and how they respond to a question they've been asked 100 times, but like they're the interviewer or the reporter is dying to ask them. Um, and you can tell when they haven't really had the PR training that they need. Like what mistakes do they make? Like what do they consciously and unconsciously focus on, and why? And like what kind of like ticks are there and stuff. Like what questions do they like circumvent, and like uh, there's just like a lot of information that you can get from like, and it's like high bandwidth information. And you'll notice that they'll sidestep certain questions, and that can give you a lot. Like if you have a lot of insight into like business practices and business models and everything, then that gives you like a ton of information on like how that's all like put together. Um, how their business strategy is like put together, and like what they're planning on doing and why, and like maybe like it'll tell you like a little bit about like who they're partnering with, and why. Man, I really should have finished this. I didn't realize I'd written most of it out. I also like to think about like the process behind behind the interview. Like how would someone identify the questions to ask Elon Musk or Tim Cook? If you got the chance to interview like Paul Graham or Sam Altman, or um, just like anyone who runs like a company, like they don't have very much time. Like what is like the most important thing to ask them? Like what is it that other people haven't asked them? And if uh, and like how do you ask them like questions like that like meshes with the it meshes with like the message that they want to send? Because if you ask them like there's like a right time to ask somebody questions that's gonna piss them off, but you don't want to like. There's this one great video of like Robert Downey Jr. getting like super pissed, and so if they have someone like managing PR, like most people in these positions do, like if you don't have someone like helping you like craft your message and giving you advice in that regard, like if you have those resources and you don't use them, then like there's something wrong. And like so, how did that person managing PR like posture content for the organization and its projects for this interview, and what would motivate them to do that? And how long ago does it seem like they how long ago does it seem? Does this message that they're pushing, is it like relevant? Is it something that is new, or is it something? Is it the same thing that they've been pushing all year or all quarter? Because I like there's so many like good like videos out there for like learning like you know so much stuff like so many like great like math videos, so many great like startup videos and stuff. But a lot of the content for me is like it's like unless it's like an advanced math lecture, I mean it's like between like 50 and 80%. Between 50 and 80%. You repeat. And so for politicians running an election, did some article or video clip set the tone? How was their PR and team involved in responding to this? I'm like spending way too much time here, but it's like critical to convey a simple message. You want to because if you start trying to convey like a complex message, that can get perceived wrong. Because this is why like I actually do have like the wisdom and like the intelligence and the knowledge like to do all this stuff, and it's just like I never get the chance. I don't understand why. But moving on, I'll let my content speak for itself. And so yeah, your organization also needs to keep people guessing. So you don't want to just be like simple and direct. You want to be like simple, but like ahead of like what people are thinking. Like you don't want to just give them the content. Like you want to give them like throw some stuff out here and there, and then allow them to like piece together that message within themselves and determine what it really means. And so let's see. Oh, and at the same time, like you don't want to overcomplicate your message, but you don't want to keep it so simple that it makes it easier for your competitors to like just easily discern elements of your strategy. And that's like one of the most important things. Like you don't want to like tell your opponent how to like how to beat you in business. And so and the wrong idea could really backfire there. Like if you kind of like broadcast the wrong message, that can totally backfire. And signaling is like so important, and that comes from communication. But it's more indirect and a little bit more subtle than that. Signaling like encompasses incidental communication of your organization's intentions through purchasing agreements, real estate purchases, intellectual property registration, and startup acquisitions. And those aren't things that you are trying to convey, but those are things that like just happen to like come out, just like via like behavior and meta behavior and meta behavior. You can just kind of like reason about like what this business is doing and what that business is doing and what this group of people is doing, and then you can kind of like look at their interactions and be like, okay, I think I see a pattern here. And so it never really ceases to amaze me that the links that like people will go to cover their tracks. Like see what's a good example of that. I probably have one in here actually. Yeah, there's like the great lengths that the U.S. and the U.K. went to surprise Germany with the invasion location for D-Day, and they found like a random like cadaver in the United Kingdom that was like that died within the right amount of time to be realistic, and like was like in the right physical shape and age to be like in the Navy, and then they just like sent him floating towards like I think South France or something, like probably near Marseille or something, and that signaled to like Hitler that they're going for South France, like that's where the invasion is, and so he like pulled his land forces away from Normandy, which was like the direct route, and then and there's just like so like people will go through like the most ridiculous lengths to like let's see, Apple probably doesn't want me to say this, but like they purchased like some like chip manufacturing facilities recently, like apparently like a medium-sized chip manufacturing facility. I mean, to me that seems like I don't know. I'll let you make your own conclusions, but that sounds like a strong signal to me, and I haven't really heard anyone like, you know, say like that's what they're doing. Um, and So in business, purchasing like a real estate or company, I mean, I just kind of explained that. If you purchase like intellectual property or whatever, that can like signal your intention for that field. And so for founders and great leaders, they seem to prefer to not signal at all, which would be boring, in my opinion. And I know people like this that are like they're at the top of their field, but like they don't seem to be like very active. Like if you see them in public, like they're not necessarily reserved, but they're like very like pulled back, and they're like very careful about what they're gonna do. And I really can't stand doing that. I just like feel bad about like not. I should probably finish this actually. I just feel like there's like so much good content in here, and I always like put a whole bunch of like negativity in my articles, and I think that just kind of like ruins it. It's like stupid. But and so confusion can be like more difficult to quell than it is useful. And so like they'll try to like use confusion to prevent people from like understanding what they're doing. Just so that it's like a little bit harder to piece together, because if you only pay attention to the things that matter, then it like becomes pretty easy to like deduce like you know um, like if you're trying to piece together like 100-piece puzzle, and you have all the 100 pieces that you need, and that's it, like that's easy. If you're trying to piece together a 100-piece puzzle and you only have like 20 of the pieces that you need, and then you have like 500 pieces that like don't make any sense, and your picture is like the same color, or like two or three different like colors, then then that becomes like really challenging, because you think you have all the pieces that you need, but you really can't figure it out, because um, and if you're someone who has like a lot of influence, there's like a painting that perfectly expresses this, and that's Picasso's hand, not the hand with flowers, but or is it? No, it's not Picasso. It's Salvador Dali. Look at this poor guy. This poor guy can't pick anybody up. Look at that. What if that guy tried to pick you up? He'd kill you. It's crazy. Poor guy. Alright, so, oh, I was actually going to insert that picture. And when a founder is, established, let's see. They've established like business partnerships. You have to like prevent yourself from unintentionally signaling the wrong thing that could adversely affect your partners. You don't want to just like, and somebody could prompt you with like a seemingly harmless question, and founder would need to know how to respond while taking into account their own interests and everything, and the interests of your partners, and you have to like communicate a lot. Because, I mean, if you're always just like looking out for yourself, then you're probably gonna like ruin it, and so I just don't understand. And you want to keep your business partnerships like in mind when talking about signaling from like an organizational perspective, because if you collaborate like as a group, like so if you're working with like 2 or 3 other people, and if you do this too much, if you do this in a bad way, it's like collusion. There's like a lot of like weird ethical, a lot of like very difficult to resolve ethical issues here. But if you like collaborate as a group, then you can accomplish great things. You can like work to each other's benefit. And so businesses may pursue strategies that are like employed, solely to actually see how a competitor reacts, to like better understand how signaling affects their competitor's behavior. And this is one of the most powerful things that you can do, is like do something and see how people react to it. Because and that you don't want to do that too much because, but I mean, at the same time, like sometimes people just like don't give you any information, and that can be really difficult to deal with. And especially like if you're like forming like a business partnership that's like, is a pretty big deal. Like you might not want to like, you know, you, you really got to like try to figure out like how your allies are going to react, and you also want to know how like your competitors are going to react. I mean, so you know you need to like figure out how to like how you can signal and determine like how their reaction would affect, uh, or how their reaction would like allow you to make inferences about their behavior. And so I guess I could say like great people with no small plans have a clear distinction between like what info can be shared and what should remain private. They understand like what inferences can be made with each new piece of information, and I mean that's like a really hard one to deal with. Like if you like just like don't. I don't know. Yeah. And so yeah. And so here's like here's the thing that's like complicated and like difficult and interesting. It's like a double-edged sword, I guess. So if you have great plans, like they have, you need to have like you need to have strategy and tactics, and so you need to like have like developed this huge like this complicated strategy full of lots of tactics that could apply to different situations, and on top of like the strategies for your business, the strategies and tactics for your business organization, like towards the outside, you also have to have the strategies and tactics for dealing with like political issues within your business and within your own system. And so, and everyone, like, or almost everyone, would really love to build something great. So you have to conceal your intentions and your strategies and your motivation. So you have to like build all these strategies and everything, but you can't just like throw it all out there because if you do that, someone else will end up building what you had planned. I mean, somebody else with more resources can build your business or whatever, or a competitor will sidestep and adapt to your strategy, rendering it useless, or it's just a massive waste of time. So I mean, really, like, what I really just can't stand is like just like negativity all the time. Like if somebody's like being negative just to be negative, like it's. And this is kind of like why signaling is like so important. The kind of people who end up being like truly great, like understand signaling. Like they're the ones that like understand how to read actions of others and what message they should send. Uh, and they know what to ask and what not to ask. And here's like how I signal. Like I mean I really don't try to like intentionally do things just to see somebody's reaction to it because that's kind of like cheap. I mean I just kind of like watch for like look at how people like interact like with me and with other people and just kind of like I mean you have to like prompt yourself with enough interactions with someone to like get a good read on like how and why they how they do things and why they feel the way they do and what's really under their mind. A really good way to do that is to play games like board games or like do like team building stuff. And so and here's another like just hugely critical thing. These people know how to like they understand how to like destructure and restructure the acquisition of knowledge to satisfy appearances and other rules of the game. Sometimes I can't even believe that I wrote this, but I mean I know I did, but like I mean I guess maybe it's not that good. I don't know. They also know how to like destructure and restructure the steps of someone else's plan of action or business strategy. So like take a look at somebody's like actions in the marketplace and just be like, okay, they just did that, that, and that, and their next best move, like if they wanted, like their best moves for the next quarter would be like this. They're going to focus on this kind of product. They have like the assets, they have the resources, the people in line. They just hired that guy from like that, high up in that company. He designed, that amazing product. They just hired him. Like they're probably gonna like, put him to work and like try to get like try to get him to build a product within the next like 6 months or whatever. And And they also understand that this kind of like destructuring and restructuring is also really expensive in terms of time and energy. And you got to like destructure. This is what I meant by this whole section is that like you have to like know like okay, these are the pieces of knowledge I need. Like my strategy depends on like these pieces of knowledge. So like if I'm gonna like launch like a semiconductor company or something, I want to know like what is the competition out there, what kind of products are they building, what kind of products are they not building. But at the same time, like I want to acquire that knowledge. But at the same time, if I have something, if I have like a really great product, I don't want to tip them off that like that they're missing out on a huge opportunity. So I have to like figure out how to like say things or make release like public statements or I have to figure out how to like structure my actions in a way that allows me to like gain those pieces of information that I need, which is like not so hard when you have like a organization through which you can like abstract your actions. And I need to do that without like tipping them off as to, like what my real actions are. So there's a lot of like category theory there. You got to like figure out like okay, like if this person responds in this way to this question, then that means like okay, they're like if they're a manager or something working with this group of people, that they're probably like they'll probably answer the question and not realize that they just divulged information to you. And these people like value knowledge. These people value knowledge, and they systemize its acquisition, and they're intimately aware of like what they don't know. They understand how to apply knowledge for gain. They have the wisdom to like I guess definitely perform when they don't have the knowledge. So they know what to do when they don't know what to do. That's really important. And another thing here is just like you need to be surrounded with people that like you can trust. Like if you're not like surrounded by like I've worked at a couple companies where like I worked at one place. Well, I don't want to like name anyone anywhere specific, but like there would just be like one guy, and like I didn't feel like I could trust that guy, and like he would just like continue to like push negativity towards my direction, and like they would like interfere with like relationships that I would have with other people. Like they would interfere with like maybe I was like friends with like some other people at that business that before this guy got hired or whatever, and then like I'm not like I'm not a huge like people person, so like I'm not good at small talk basically. Like I wrote like 10,000 words on like the facets of greatness, but like having a conversation with someone about like a football game last week, like I'm not very good at that, and it's a huge weakness on my part. And I really can't believe like what I'm like reading, because I'm like realizing that like I'm like I know this stuff, but it's like one thing to like know, and you got to learn this stuff early on, because it's like one thing to like know this stuff, and then another to just like it's a whole other thing to actually put it into practice, and to put it in practice effectively. And usually, here's where knowledge really helps you out, and that is that. So like a lot of people go to college and they learn like this is how economics works. There's microeconomics and macroeconomics, and that's how it works. And they like believe that like particular indicators and statistics drive market prices and or prices of goods and services and blah 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 blah. But usually the commonly understood model of something is mostly true, but it's kind of a facade that hides the deeper, more complex machinery that truly drives the secret motion of things. And they commonly misunderstood, they commonly misunderstand the factors that like drive business or drive human behavior. It needs to be edited. And so, like, if everyone knows it, there's not much value that you can derive from something that everyone knows, especially if it's an overly simplistic model. So, if everyone understands it, where's the opportunity? And this is like true in like everything. I mean, it could apply to like business, music, sales, acting, and the most commonly understood factors are just the basics. And math is often the key to modeling systems faster and more accurately. And usually the most common model is based on a limited set of math, and like its accuracy and predictions are limited because of this. And finding true success means that you have to understand everything at a much deeper level, and you have to be like capable of like critical thinking. You got to understand like what actually makes things tick. And once you have that deeper understanding, then you can exploit the knowledge differential towards your success. And the reason I say knowledge differential is like like you've got this like knowledge of how it like of how a system like works like down to like the very core, whereas other people just like understand like they just see like the shell around it. And so and you can kind of exploit that, like how like the stock price is going to change, or how like changes in like the availability of a certain like mineral will like affect the price of like components for cell phones, and that signal sends another signal elsewhere in the economy, and that like all these things are like interrelated, and it is like more it's like everything's like a lot more complicated than it appears to be on the surface, and it's only by digging down to those details that you can really like understand like how things are going to play out. And let's see here.